I first heard of Sri SATHYA Sai Baba in 1978. I have spent 25 years learning about him and had many interviews with Sai Baba and realised how important his guidance of me has been through this life. There was one time, another interview. He said to me, "You know, I used to hear you say your prayers and ask me to look after you and get your husband safely home for you and the children. But why were you looking out there? I'm here." I said, "Swami, why didn't you let me have children? I'm fond of children, mad on children, both my husband and I. And yet we never had any children." And I said, "Why couldn't I have children?" Now, Mata Betty was with me. And he bent forward and he said to me, "Because in last life you have plenty children."
She was a loving sage from New Zealand, Kura Irirangi Te Rangi Baker, which means, when translated, our treasure from above. In this part one of a two-part series on Souljourns, she tells of her unfolding relationship with Jesus and later with Sai Baba. Welcome to Souljourns. This video was recorded in 2006 and is provided to us by the SATHYA Sai organization of Wellington, New Zealand. This is a RISHI, RAJU, and Peter Miles film, and complete credits follow this presentation.
Tat savitu varenyum Bhargo devasya dhimahi Diyo yonah prachodayat. Om. So I think my first 19 years of my life was just nothing but serving God, loving Him, knowing where He is, appreciating everything that we had. There wasn't much. There was a slump in those days as well in New Zealand. And then, of course, I met my husband and we got married. That was a different life. But I always knew at the back of my mind that upbringing that I'd had played a very big, important part in my life. When we got married, I suppose it would be about a month after, I had a dream. I dreamed that Christ was on our front lawn. And I rushed to Him and I said, "Oh, this is lovely. I'm so thrilled to see you. I know who you are." And He said, "I know." He said, "But I've got other people to see." And so in my dream, I had hold of His hands. And I said, "I don't want you to go." And He was rising off the ground. And I grabbed His cloak and I said, "I don't want you to go." And then He still went up further and then I had His feet. And I'm yelling at Him, "I don't want you to go." And He looked down at me and He says, "I will return." And I woke up. Well, when I woke up, my husband said, "What on earth are you doing?" He said, "You're yelling and jumping around in the bed." I said, I cried. I said, "You're not going to believe this." But I said, "Jesus was on our front lawn." "Was He?" And I said, "Yes, He was." I said, "And He was rising up and I was trying to hold Him down." Now, that was absolutely fantastic. 40 years later, my first visit to Baba. I'll just finish this one off. We went to Subrabhatam. So I went into the temple itself. And I very quietly looked up, and in there was a photo of Baba. You know this. Then there was a photo of Shirdi, wasn't it? But I looked up and I thought, "Oh, there's Jesus." So I sat down right in front, like this, Jesus, you see. And when I opened my eyes, it was Baba. my thoughts went right back to that dream. Well, I cried in there. I did. I cried. You see, it just shows you, he said, I will return. And I go into this beautiful temple. You know what that temple's like. And where Baba stands, I didn't see Baba. It was Jesus that was there. And I was so excited. I thought, oh, there's Jesus. And I went down like this, and then I looked up. I was on the floor, and it was Baba. So I sat there and I thought of that dream. Now that was in 1942 when I saw Baba's Jesus on my front lawn. That's the year I got married. And when is it? 1981? When I saw that in Baba's temple. So, you see, it just shows you, he says, I will return. And after all my naughtiness, I know what the other side of life is all about. And then when I did go and see Baba like that, and that's what I saw. And what does Baba say? I and my Father are one. You see, that I think was the turning point of my life. Would be the turning point. How I met my husband. I was mad on dancing. I loved dancing. And I used to sing in a band. And when you're in your early teenage years, you're fearless, you know, and I had joined an audition. I was taking part in the radio station Talent Quest. There was a band leader that heard our singing and he heard my voice. And so he called me and wanted to know if I would sing in his band. And that was Billy Larkin's band, if you please. And so I used to sing, and it used to delight me because I used to get into these dance halls for nothing. I had a complimentary ticket. And in those days I was only getting 10 shillings a week, so 2 and 6 out of that 10 shillings was a lot of money. And having this complimentary ticket, I saved 2 and 6. Way back in those days. These are in the 39s, 40s. And there was a war on, of course. And then we used to go to Foxton Town Hall to dance for the mounted rifles that used to be at the race course. Anyway, singing away there, and this man comes along. He had a motorbike. And he was dancing with all my girlfriends, of course, when I was too busy singing anyway. But he never took any notice of me even when I wasn't singing. And I thought, oh, well, I couldn't care less, but he was a wonderful dancer. So anyway, eventually he did get me up for a dance. And of course, that was the end of that. 12 months courting, and then we got married. And we were 56 years married. He died, and we've been 56 years married. Now, that was a lifetime. Incidentally, he was the first one out of the two of us that knew about Baba. He met up with an Indian healer, and my sister-in-law as well knew this healer. In fact, I think it was her that told him about this healer. And I was so busy working, you see, and he'd come back, and this went on for about 12 months. And I still carried on with my life, you know. I worked at the camp, the Linton military camp, and I'd still have my cigarettes and whatever, you know. Anyway, he came back one day and he said to me, I'm going to become a vegetarian. And I looked at him and I said, oh, are you? Yes, he said, it wouldn't hurt if you would be a vegetarian as well. I said, you think about yourself. If you want to be a vegetarian, I will help you. But don't force me to follow you. Okay. So of course I used to cook him vegetarian meals, and I would still eat my meat. And then one day he came back and he said to me, I'm going to India. So I said, over my dead body, you're going to India? And he said, well, you're going to have to be dead then, because I'm still going to go. And I thought about this. I thought, there's something here. And I did notice a difference in Andy. He was more patient. No, there was a difference. So anyway, he never said anything to me. I said to him, well, when's your next meeting? With a grin. He said, oh, in about 2 weeks. I said, so you want to go to India? He said, yes, I do. By the way, he says, your sister-in-law Dolly's going too. He thought that would make me sit up, which it did. So I said, is she going too? Yes. So the time got nearer for him to go to this meeting, and I said, I think I'll come with you. So he looks at me and says, do you? And I said, yeah, I think I will. So I went with him. I went to Wanganui with him, to the marae there, and sat down, and this person, this tour leader, said to me, are you Andy's wife? And I said, yes. He says, you know Andy's coming to India with me? I said, yes. Isn't it funny? Because he said, I said, I've got news for you. I'm coming too. And he said, oh, are you? Are you? And I said, yes, I am. I said, it's either he and I, or he doesn't go. Oh, he says, is that right? You've got it all planned, have you? And I said, yes, I have. I'm his wife, not you. So smart. So he says, okay, I'm the tour leader. I'm not going to have you like this. You're going to give up meat, fish and poultry and do it if you want to come. I said, but Andy's not like that. I said, he doesn't eat meat. But I said, he still smokes. He said, no, Andy knows. So I went back home and he said to me, I wish you would do that, Andy, to me. He said, I think you and I could go over there and we could learn something. I said, okay. So I thought, okay, this will be my last meal. And he had his vegetables, and I had a big plate of puha, pig bones and spuds. That's a Christmas meal for a Maori. So I blessed this food and I said, this will be the last meat meal I'll have. And so I picked up the meat. That's in my book. And I went to put it to my mouth and I couldn't do it. This strong smell of a booty went right across my mouth like that. And do you think I could get that meat there? I couldn't. I couldn't. So I put it down again, and my husband's across the table. He's not saying a word, eating his, you see. So I thought, I'll have another try, son. And I still couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at all. And all of a sudden I wasn't hungry. So I put it down and I said, I'll put it back and I'll have it for supper. And Andy, sitting like that, like you, turned around and said, so you won't give in? And I said, I'll give in when I'm ready. There's no need for you to carry on like that. I felt so something. I don't know what I felt, but all I know is something had happened. Well, I never ever did eat that pig bone, because each time I took it, there's just something that I couldn't eat it. Now that would be in 1980. So Andy said to me, you couldn't eat? I said, no. So I said, okay, we'll give it all up together. And we did. Now we both smoked. And I said, working at the camp, I used to get my cigarettes at wholesale price, and I'd just bought a carton of, what was his? John Brandon, and mine was Capstan Cork. And we left them on the mantelpiece. I said, we'll give it up. Well, we never ever did smoke from then, 1980. We gave up meat, fish and poultry, drinking and smoking, all at once. The two of us, we gave that up. And that was in 1980. And it was just so funny because when we went to India, Baba said, you are so clean. You found it so hard, but I was with you all because I wanted you to come to me like this. My Maori people, you can do it. You see, and I said to him, Swami, I know you helped me. He said, I helped you all. And you will feel so much better. I shall never forget that first meeting with Baba. You know, a lot of people say to me that it's so beautiful to be, you know, the spiritual feeling. I said to them, it's lovely to feel the way you are, but you really don't know how very close to bliss you can get until you go and visit him. You go into that ashram and you're in a world of your own. You know that. I cried when I went there. There's just that something. And when we went there to India in 1981, there was about, I'd say, 20,000, 40,000 people there, all with the same feeling, all there for that tiny little person, all thinking positive, all loving that person. That's where you feel the spiritual feeling, and you bring that away with you. You bring it away with you. I could never ever turn any other way but that way. And both my husband and I, we had a private interview with Swami. We all did, actually. But the married couples was put first. And then he came to Andy and I. And he said to Andy, you bring wife plenty tears. No matter, you will both be very happy. But then he said to me, you have always had divine love. Well, I just cracked up. I mean, fancy God telling you that. So he got up and he grabbed hold of me and sort of, I would say, uffy me, sort of, you know, control me, sort of. You will be all right. You will be. You have a lot of love. You do, divine love. You will both be very, very happy, you know. Now, when he finished with the other couple, he came over to me again and held me up and helped me out. And he said, you will be all right. I will bless you, you see. I said to Andy, you know, that is fantastic. And I know the tears. I remember the tears, you see. But I won't go into that. But I knew the tears that he spoke about, you see. So that was all right. I went there for the wrong reasons. But I tell you what, I came back home with such a lot of feelings that my whole life changed. Absolutely changed. I gave all that up and I chose to be with Swami and spread his message as well. I became so involved with Baba's work then. And we lived at Linton at the time. And I put a notice up at Massey College saying, for those interested, SATHYA Sai Baba's organisation is at 42 Hewitts Road. We have bhajans every Thursday night at 7. Now along came 12 Malaysian Indian people to my place. They were so thrilled to know that Baba's organisation was there. They didn't know. And funny enough, one of them had written to Baba and said, Baba, please see if there's anyone that has an organisation of yours here, because we can't find anyone. And here was the answer. The letter was posted about 3 or 4 days before, when they looked up and there was this notice. You see how Baba answers. You see what he does? Well, out of the 12, 3 were very, very prominent Baba devotees. And they used to come out every opportunity. I used to say, this is your home. And I'd be working. And I'd go home, and Andy would be working. And we'd go home, and here they are in the house. Welcome home, they'd say. This is Raja, Rajan, and Murugesu. Now, they taught me a lot. They taught me how to sing bhajans. They taught me a lot of things, spiritual things, Baba's things. And they were with me for about 3 years. And then they went home. I cried my heart out. They taught me all the slokas. They taught me how to say it, the meaning of it. They said to me, don't sing Sanskrit until you know what you're singing. Because if you don't know what you're singing, Baba just shuts his eyes and says, I can't understand you. So they said, it's very important, Mum, that whatever you say in Sanskrit or Telugu or whatever, learn it first and know what you're talking about. And I did that. I knew the 108 slokas, I knew that. We used to do that every morning. Suprabhatam, I knew that. We used to do that as well. And it was the 3 Malaysian Indian boys that really showed me the way. The principles and what Baba stands for. And they said to me, whatever you do, always know that he dwells within your heart. Look within. Oh, I said, I know, I was told that by Swami. There was one time, another interview. He said to me, you know, I used to hear you say your prayers and ask me to look after you and get your husband safely home for you and the children. But why were you looking out there? I'm here. And I laughed and he said, yes, yes, yes. You used to look out there and I'm in here. Always look within, because that's where I dwell. I'm there as a divine spark. That's where I am. The divinity that lays within you. When you want to know anything, look within. Look within. There was one time I sat at his feet. I said, Swami, why didn't you let me have children? I'm fond of children, mad on children. both my husband and I, and yet we never had any children. And I said, why couldn't I have children? Now, Mata Betty was with me, and he bent forward and he said to me, because in last life you have plenty children, I give you rest. Then he sat back. You've had interviews with him, haven't you? You see him sit back. Then he bent forward. Ha, ha, ha. He said, you have plenty children. They're the ones I reared up. The ones I grabbed on the side of the road, so to speak, you see. And I said, yes, Swami, I know. And he said, well, let me tell you something. He said, when mothers give birth to children, mother love is born with them. Now, mother love is a beautiful feeling, and you didn't have this in this life. You didn't need mother's love. All you had was divine love. You took those children and you loved them. Mother love can play tricks on mothers. They can be cruel to them, they can throw them away, they can kill them, they can make them starve. There's a lot of mothers like that. That's what mother love can do sometimes. But yours was divine love. You took those children because you loved them, you wanted them, and you cared for them, nurtured them. I know, he said. And Mata said, Swami, you speak to Kura like you're her mother. And he said, I'm mother, I'm father, I'm everything. To everything. You see. And now you know why, as each time I get even stronger and stronger and stronger. I've had a lot of talks. I went to Auckland and spoke there. And I spoke on nationalities, you know. I said there that there's a lot of you people that come, you know. I don't like the idea of the separations between Indians and Maoris and Pākehās and Scotch people. And we're all one. In Baba's eyes, we are one. Don't worry about the outside part. That's the part that dies. The divine within goes on. That's your soul. And that's what we should look at. Not at the body. Look at within yourself. Look at each other like that. Sai Baba is God incarnate. Sai Baba is God incarnate. He is God. He dwells within us. You know, a lot of people smirk at that. But who's to say? Is it because Baba lives in India? Did they want God to come with pink skin and curly hair? Is that what they think God's going to turn out to be? Because that's what Jesus was like. I mean, there was Shirdi, there was Krishna. They've come through the ages like that. Shirdi Baba and now Sai Baba. And after Sai Baba will come Prema Baba. And that's going to come. You know, and I didn't believe it either. I'm going to be honest. I didn't believe it either. But study it. Experience it. He knows you better than you know yourself. He knows. Of course he's God incarnate. You know, I had a problem. Well, I didn't have a problem. There was a problem in Featherston. It was so funny when I shifted to Featherston because I didn't realise the problems that were there. But you see, Baba shifted me over there for this reason. You've no idea. I had people throwing stones on my house, and they used to think I was crazy because she reckons God lives in India. You've no idea. And there was a church in Featherston that spoke about that Maori lady that lives in Featherston and on the corner of Brandon Street and Daniel Street. She says God lives on this earth. She's queer. You go past her house and she's singing foreign songs. Oh, you've no idea. And some of them went and pooed on my front doorstep. You see? And just as well I had the Malaysian boys there then, at the time. They used to come and spend holidays with me, you see. And when I went to town, they'd look sideways and I said, there she is, look, she's queer. But you go there today. And when I left, what a lovely farewell I had. When my husband died, what a wonderful turnout I had. They realised that that Maori lady that lived down Featherston had something. Then there was a death over there. It was a terrible thing. Terrible. And then it was splashed through the paper that it was one of Sai Baba's whatever. So I called the police. I said, I want to meet you. I want you to come out. So they came and I said to them, don't you blame Baba for this. Don't you blame Baba for this. I said, he doesn't condone anything like that. Not at all. So he said, are you game enough to be a witness? I said, I'm game enough to be a witness. Of course I am. So he put me down as a witness and I went to that Supreme Court. And the night before, I sat up all night in my prayer room in meditation to Swami. I said, well, Swami, the time has come. I went to Wellington. I went up into that Supreme Court and somebody stood up, and of course who I was, and stood up and says, I will give you 5 minutes to explain to us who this Sai Baba is. And I went blank. I spoke. All I can remember saying, I believe him to be God incarnate. And let me tell you one thing. Don't dare point a finger like that at anybody. This is me. I remember this. And I said, because look who's 3 pointing back at you. Sidearm, and that was the end of that. Do you know how I found out what I said? That was coming over the radio every hour about the first witness for this dreadful case said. And I went on. I said, why people blame Sai Baba for this beats me. He is not responsible for anything like that. He is so full of love, love, love. He is God incarnate. He does good for the people. He's there to do good. He wants us to love all and serve all, you see? And I didn't know I'd said it. When he says a thing, he means it. I know that. I'm saying this because I would like people to understand and to realise who Baba really is. There was a documentary about him not long ago. It didn't play much part in New Zealand. Australia, it just rattled them. But New Zealand, I don't think they were very concerned about. I didn't hear anything. Well, when he's got, 40, 60 million people with him, and they could only find 3 that said things bad about him, and that was a family, an American family. There was a father, a mother, and a son with this documentary. You saw it, didn't you? There was only 3. Well, where are all the others? 3 from 60 million people that believe in Baba, and they could only find 3 people? Come on. I thought I wasn't going to watch it, but somebody came in the house and wanted to watch it with me, so I thought, okay, well, we will watch it. I thought there'd be so many people against him, but 3 people. And his following is how many? between 40 to 60 million people. And there'll be more, and many more. He's looking to the golden age. He wants us to help him with that. And I'll do anything to help Swami. Nobody will ever turn me away. You see, and there's one thing I have learned. You don't really have to speak. When I come over to this place here, I don't talk about him. But in here is radiating. You know, I always, before I leave a Swami, I can't put it into words. Put it into my feelings, you know. And that's where it works. It's no good talking. You know when to talk and when not to talk. I get very hurt when I find people doubting Swami. I know I shouldn't, but I do. I get hurt in myself. I think, Swami, we must overlook that, I know. But I'm part of you, and I hurt too. Yes, well, I'd like you to listen to this. This is Baba's words again too. And this is in his book, The Gems of Wisdom. That's a beautiful book. Now it says here, our race is only one, the human race. We worship only one God. Our caste is only one, the caste of love. Our language is only one, the language of the heart. You know, that speaks for itself. I can remember in one of the interviews I said to Swami, Swami, I would love to learn my Maori language. And you know what he said? He just went forward. What is the meaning of language? There's only one language, the language of the heart. And when I saw this, I remembered him saying that to me. And I mean, yes, a lot of people speak lip service. It really tickles me sometimes, you know. People will stand them and it's all lip service, and you can see it. It doesn't come from the heart. And I think too, the reason why we can pick it is because we don't eat meat, fish and poultry. You know, there's no animal content in us. Not, I mean, the blood of anything. And I think we're very sensitive. I think we are very sensitive people, and we can pick what is right and how deep anything goes. And quite often, I hear people speak, and it's only lip service. I mean, the language must come from deep within. And when it comes deep within, you know that the divine spark is acting with you. You know, there's little bits and pieces in this book that I would like to share. These are all his words. I want you also to banish two ideas from your hearts. Forget the harm that anyone has done to you. That's a very, very hard thing to do. But he says this, forget the harm that anyone has done to you. The second one is, forget the good that you have done to others. You know, that's very important. Now, our centre, when I came back to Palmerston, and they said, Mum, can you suggest any work that we can do that you know? And I said, yes, I can. I said, my late husband was in a rest home for 6.5 years. And I take that upon myself to realise that Baba works in mysterious ways. And yes, aside from Andy being the way he was, he had Alzheimer's dementia, but it was also a lesson for me. Because when I used to go in there to see my husband, I could see the various things that we could do. You see? I could see they needed people to go up there and feed these patients, because there are a lot of them that couldn't even help themselves. You see, I saw all that. And so I said to the centre here, let's adopt a rest home. And so we've adopted the Aroha Rest Home and Hospital. This is at Monrad Street. Now, we've had that now for 5 years. And what we've done, we've crocheted lap rugs. We had 2 years of that. I had to laugh, you know, because this was all done in my house, of course, you see. And they said, Mum, this is the 3rd year. Mum, please don't say we're going to knit and crochet. And I said, why? We've had it. So it's okay, we'll make bibs for patients, these feeding bibs. So we went flat out to make feeding bibs. Now here's the miracle. We're all sitting down in my house, 15 beautiful ladies, and we're talking about these bibs and the material that we needed. So that was lovely. We decided to do that. The next day, the lady that lived across the road came over with a great big bulk of brand new material. And she said, Kura, can you do anything with this? Now imagine my surprise. Come on, think. Imagine my surprise when all that material came into the house. Baba's with us everywhere. When we switch ourselves on, he heard this, and here's this beautiful material. And that's what we made our bibs with, that material that was given to us. So I had to ring the ladies and say, don't buy any material. Somebody has come over with a great big bulk of this beautiful material to make bibs. You see, if you're all switched on, come on. You know what I'm trying to say. You do know what I'm trying to say, don't you? He's always there to help. What does he say? You do, I help. Told my husband that. You do, I help. Okay, that day we do what we're going to do, he helped. In come the material. You see, and our ladies, we worked flat out. They brought machines home and we were flat out. It was lovely. You know, what a wonderful time I've had in that house with the ladies. Swaha Tat Savitu Varenium Bargo Devasya Dimahi Diyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Bhuvah Swaha Tat Savitu Varenium Bargo Devasya Dimahi Diyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Bhuvah Swaha Tat Savitu Varenium Bargo Devasya Dimahi Diyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram. Tēnā koutou katoa te iwi Maori. Ko kura haupō te waka. Ko tararua me ruahine ngā pai maunga. Ko manawa tū te awa. Ko Ngāti Rangi te iwi. Te hei Maori ora ki a tātou katoa. Ko Miriama rawa ko wiwaka tarangi o ku topuna. Ko mihiko tarangi tōku matua. He tamaiti keke au nā meririkiriki te whaia keke o rātana. Ta kai whakau o te hahi rātana. Ko ānaru mātenga Baker tōku hoa pūmau. He uri ia no ngā iwi o Ngāti Raukawa me tiatiawa. Ko Kura Irirangi Tarangi Baker tōku ingoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I first heard of Sri SATHYA Sai Baba in 1978, and in 1981 I visited him. I found him to be a very spiritual person who changed my life completely. We both recognized a divine being as God incarnate. I have spent 25 years learning about him and had many interviews with Sai Baba and realized how important his guidance of me has been through this life.